Hey, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Becoming Unbound, the podcast where we break free from the boxes society puts us in and explore what it really means to live life on your terms. We're here to redefine freedom, whether it's freedom from your 9 to 5, your relationships, your finances, or those limiting beliefs that have been holding you back. This is the space where we tell stories of becoming unbound in every sense of the word. So today's guest is Rachel Kalmar, a former holistic nutritionist turned digital marketer who helps businesses show up and stand out online. From gut health to branding, Rachel knows how to blend strategy with soul. She creates digital spaces that feel human, and she's proof that you don't need to follow the rules to make a real impact. All right, friends, I'm so excited for this conversation. Let's dive in. Rachel, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I feel like it's a long time coming.
I know. This is great. Yeah, I feel like there's been just us trying to book in. And anyways, I'm so glad we're making this happen today. So I wanted to start and tell our listeners kind of how you got to be here, how we know each other, maybe a little bit about your story. I love our story. Like you said, I think yesterday in a text, I was like, I don't know if we're sisters-in-law, but
I know that confused me too. I don't think we are, but that's
something.
Yeah, we are something.
Listeners, if you know what we are, Rachel will tell the story and then you can tell us what we actually are. Tell us in the comments.
Literally, we need to know. Essentially, my brother is married to Carly's sister. So Carly's sister, Hannah, is my sister-in-law. But I'm not sure if that makes Carly my sister-in-law, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't, but we have to be related somehow.
Definitely we're related.
Because my brother is your brother-in-law.
Yeah. So what is that? I don't know.
Just nothing? That doesn't feel fair. We're something. It's okay. As long as we know that we're something, then we're good.
Yeah. And it's so great that we immediately we kind of connected. I don't know. I don't remember the first time we met, but immediately we were we locked eyes. And I feel like we were in conversation. It was like, this girl gets me. Oh my God.
But that's exactly it. Literally, Carly and I, we have the same views on life and on everything going on in the world. And I think when you find someone who has the ability to question the narrative and who just has the ability to think for themselves, you cling on to those people really hard because it's hard to find that. And also, when someone just becomes relatable to you, you don't want to let go of that either. You can just feel wholeheartedly yourself. There's no judgment. You can say really what you're thinking and know that they're thinking the same thing, even if they're not going to express it. And it's really special when you have that connection with someone. I have a girlfriend. One of my mom's really good friends, her daughter, my mom's like, yeah, they're on the same page as us and whatever. And we connected, we went out, and all of a sudden we're best friends and I said the same thing to her. I was like, when you find someone, especially today, who aligns with you on all these things, you don't want to let them go.
Yeah.
Ever.
And it feels so special that we can be just sitting at a dinner or a brunch, whatever it is, and we can a conversation comes up on the dinner table and the family's talking about something and we can just look at each other and we're just laughing in our minds or rolling our eyes or something. But it's so nice to know that I can show up to those dinners and somebody there gets me and somebody there can I can say the wildest stuff and they're like, oh yeah, I knew about that 2 weeks ago or whatever.
Totally.
It just feels so, I don't know, comforting, aligned, and yeah, you're right. As soon as you find people who have that sense of home to you and we can text each other, just be oh my God, remember that thing that happened? And we, and it feels so nice to be able to connect with people. And you're right. Yeah, you're not going anywhere. I mean,
literally
we're that sister something. So
yeah, exactly. I think the funniest thing for me was the water filter. the gift, the water filter gift. But then when we were sitting outside and you're like, hey, Rachel, you want to come on this turf with me? And then, they could be like, yeah, so, and we're like, so? So do you really want us to tell you?
Yeah, and it's nice because then we can like when someone understands you in a group of people, it feels like then the it doesn't really matter what anyone else kind of says or thinks because you're like, somebody here gets me, even if I'm the crazy one of the family. Like it feels so like home. It feels like, okay, someone here gets me, it's all good. And
Mhm.
I love the water filter thing.
Yeah, me too. You should tell everyone about it.
So yeah, there is members of our family that still are strong team tap water, and it
Yeah.
just makes me want to gag a little bit. But to each their own. Like, I get it. We're all on our different journeys of figuring out what great, how we nourish our bodies and what feels like the best health practices for us. And so every time I would kind of go to a family member's house, I would either bring my own water bottle or I would just be thirsty.
Or Instacart water like I did.
Or yeah, or Instacart water to the front door. So
Yeah.
you do what you have to make sure that like your boundaries around your health and wellness are, you know, respected in your own sense. Like, I'll just do whatever I have to do in that situation. And I also know that like if I am parched, like I'm not going to die from tap water, but I wanted to, and slowly I start to like give, the way I give gifts now to these family members is that I will give them something that like kind of resonates me, and it's like the first baby step to sort of like giving them a new idea around health and wellness. And so I ended up buying my sister a water filtration, just one of those ones that goes in the fridge. And I texted you right away. I was like, so do you think this is a good gift? Like, do you think this is too much? Or is it like just perfect for what maybe they need? Because everyone's seen the Brita filters. This is just maybe one step up from that.
I would say that.
And yeah, I ended up like, providing a gift, which I love giving gifts, that was aligned with me. We got a good laugh out of it. And now when we go to their house,
We
we
have
can both
water.
drink water.
It's exactly it. It's exactly it. I think your what you said was really important when it comes to everyone is on their own journey and respecting that everyone is on their own journey, but still having the ability to share knowledge that you have if they're open to receiving it. I think the most frustrating part is when someone is not open to receiving it or having a conversation and just blindly tells you you're crazy, or this doesn't make sense and this is not what we were taught, because you're a sister or you're a daughter or you're a friend and you're not someone who maybe is in an industry that tells you that you know better, like a doctor. And I I feel like for me that's the most frustrating part, because I don't need to be a doctor to do research and to have knowledge on these things and to find resources that, tell me that these are not the best things. To be honest, I listened to something this morning and I think it's perfect timing. And it was Max. I forget how to say his last name. Lagrave, you know who I'm talking
Yeah.
about. And he said that often the most unhealthiest foods have the loudest health claims. Your box of cereal saying it's heart healthy, all the things, but there's no health claim on a piece of grass finished meat or your grass fed butter.
Nope.
There's a heart claim on margarine, right? And so I found that to be very interesting that, you have these companies who are backed by these big companies who are telling you this is the way. And you look at the food pyramid and it's literally upside down. And, people put their blind faith and trust into that because they think that these people really are a do no harm, and, that they are really looking out for your best interests. And so it's frustrating when you're trying to tell someone like, hey, why don't we, take a step back from that? And let me show you this paper that maybe you're not going to see by the big companies who are funding these brands. And oftentimes they don't want to see it. It's just, it's hard to change your perception. Like, oh, how is it possible that they don't really care? Or how is it possible that I've grown up thinking this was good for me and it's really not? Oh, so you're telling me your box of cereal in the morning is a good option for you to have to keep you sustained and energized and fulfilled throughout your day?
Yeah. The frustration is beyond me that there's clear marketing, purely just campaigns to get you to buy things. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, like, I feel like, I don't know, we went to school at the exact same time. You took a media course, yes? Like, there's
No.
really? Oh, in my school, there was like definitely like a full unit in, I think it was like language or English or whatever. And you learned all about like media and how to tell and read boxes and colors that were attracting you. And when you like created your own media project, you wanted taglines that showed you that the product was good. And these claims don't have to be based in anything. Like, they don't have to be backed up by any kind of research. And if they are backed up by research, it's probably funded by that company. And so it's super interesting that when you challenge the marketing around different products, like, I'm simply challenging the marketing here and then diving a little bit deeper, like reading ingredients or understanding what the alternatives are. And it's super fascinating that, like, even when you go to question marketing, so
Mhm.
many times you're shot down. You're like, but they're just doing that so that you buy it.
Yeah. And I think too, when you really think about it and like consciously think about it, is, these big industries don't make money off of healthy people.
No, no.
And well, if they don't make money off of healthy people, where are they being funded? Right? So there's a piece of it where the sicker you are, the richer we get. And again, you're like, don't you want to be living in a population where everyone is thriving and healthy and happy and financially stable? And maybe I'm in a dreamland. I don't know. I didn't think that that was. Why do we have to have people who struggle, who are sick? We have the means and the resources to have a really amazing life, but that's not what they want for us. And I think for people to realize that and to, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you know it, you can't unknow it. And I often wish I was ignorant like some people that I just know who don't challenge or question the narrative or what they're being told and just kind of blindly follow. And I've said this many times, like sometimes I wish I could just go back and not think about these things because to be honest, it's easier not to know that that's how the world operates.
I
It
know.
is so much easier not to know that. And it's a scary thing to think about, to be like, they don't want us to thrive.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with like, there's been many moments in my sort of awakening to new information and like to understanding what's actually being fed to us.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes I do wish like I could, instead of becoming unbound, sometimes I'm like, oh, that life when I was just all bound up and like had literally no thoughts of my own and didn't critically think about stuff and didn't read, ingredients labels, didn't try to decode marketing, didn't understand, didn't know that there was something deeper below those things. Like, gosh, that was a blissful time.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, I feel like my first dibble dabble into that world was when I went on the autoimmune paleo protocol for my health. And that's when I had to really start paying attention to labels and realizing that if I wanted a snack, I had to make it myself. There wasn't anything on the shelves that didn't have seed oils. There wasn't at this time much on the shelf that didn't have additives and preservatives. Well, of course, they have to be stable on the shelf because if not, well, groceries just don't have the fridge space for it. And also the capital needed to turn over. Um, and that was really my first kind of entry into being like, wait, wow, there's a lot of products. They try to do good and they try to tell you they're good. And then you go and you read the back of the label and you're like, oh, that has, canola oil. The first ingredient is canola oil. And you're like, holy, like, No, that's not what I want. You go to the salad bar at Whole Foods, and the first ingredient in all of that, all of the salad bar stuff for the most part, maybe it's switched. I haven't gone in a long time. It was all canola oil.
Yes,
And I
I
was
I
like,
did go there, like, 2 years ago, and I was like,
what the heck?
"Oh,
Yeah.
Whole Foods?" I mean,
Yeah.
Whole Foods got into its
I know.
own
Mhm. Yes, 100%. But I think that that's where things started to shift for me. And then obviously entering into holistic nutrition school and learning about certain farming practices and how fish are farmed and what they do to actually give them color so they look like they are edible and healthy, and they're not. And really diving into that side of the world is, I think, what opened my eyes, but then also being introduced to people who are alternative thinkers.
Yes,
That
yeah.
was really important for me because when I would start to question things and not be confident, especially with what happened in 2020, and I would be like, am I crazy? Am I the one crazy? But then you surround yourself with people who are aligned with you and you're like, wait, no, I'm not crazy. They want me to feel crazy, but I'm not crazy. I'm thinking for myself here. And there's nothing wrong with that, even though they tell me that there is.
Yeah, I think isolation in that is the
Mhm.
scariest part because when you're alone, it's so easy to gaslight yourself to be like, yeah, I must be crazy. I must not, know what I'm talking about. Maybe, and there's all these outside influences that are telling you, oh, you're crazy. Oh, that's not right. Oh, maybe that doesn't seem like a popular opinion. So
Yeah.
probably don't think that because
Mhm.
that's dangerous or that's whatever adjective you want to describe that type of thinking.
Yeah. I
And
think that's a great
yeah,
way of putting it. Yeah.
it's
It's a great
that
way.
isolation is horrible, and I do remember, like, finally getting into a group of people where I could say those crazy things. Crazy. I wanted to take that out of my vocabulary. I'm realizing I'm saying that too much, but I could say those things that were on my mind, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not going insane. What I think is
Yeah.
real." And, like, yeah, when you're so bombarded with family members and friends being like, don't think that. That's not popular. That no, that's not gonna earn you any friends. That's not gonna get you any dose of
And creating
popularity.
so much conflict
Yeah,
and so much divide,
yeah,
and having to realize like, okay, if you're gonna separate yourself from me over this, then here's the door. Because at the end of the day, it's not worth you fighting for yourself and then trying to like fight for a relationship that doesn't feel like they care to be supportive because your views don't align with theirs.
yeah. And I think that's the best way to like go about it is not to understand that like if you know what you're going to encounter people in this world that have different views than you, and can
Mhm.
they hold that space to be like, I get that our views are different and you're still a special person to me. And, if as long as we're not going to bombard each other with our own belief systems or like get into those challenges, but like, can we still appreciate each other for the energy that we bring to a room or the conversations that we have or the fun, playful times that we end up having despite all of that?
Yeah, I actually have one girlfriend like that who we don't necessarily align on politics. We don't align on a lot of like kind of viewpoints. I think we're similar in certain things, but we're very different. But we are the best friends. And we are able to have those tough conversations to explain each other's viewpoint and respectfully agree to disagree and not let that create any space or distance between us. That is so hard to find and it shouldn't be. I don't know why like why we can't all just hold space for each other. We're not all meant to see things the same way. That's what makes us individuals. I have a twin sister. We don't see anything the same, not one thing for the most part, but we set a boundary. You know what? We are not going to talk about this and we are not going to talk about this. We know that we don't align. And if we want to not bicker and, get into a fight over this because it makes there's no sense in fighting over it. We just don't talk about it. And to be honest, same thing with other members of my family. I just it doesn't make sense to talk about things where I know we're so misaligned. And so we respectfully set a boundary saying, you know what, this isn't something we're going to talk about. I hear you. I see you. I don't agree with you, but I still love you.
Yeah.
And then you have some of those friendships where you guys can talk about it, hear each other out, respect each other's opinions, and then move on and have the best time together.
Yeah. Yeah,
So there's two
that's so
ways to go
solid.
about it. Or they've walked out of your life because you're crazy.
Yeah. And that also, like everything that you just said, it's all about like what serves your highest good. And I think expanding your mind, being able to hold space for people who don't have the same opinions as you, and then also be able to pour, maybe you decide, like, okay, so there's people who do understand me. I'm just going to shift my energy and pour a little bit more energy into those people that do get me and love me. And for those that wanted to walk away, like,
Mhm.
just blessings to you. And like, I can respect that too, if that's where you're at in your life.
Yeah, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think it's important to realize when it's okay to say, it's okay. You can, it's okay. Like, I respect your boundary. If that means that you want to be out of my life, then I will love you from afar and support you from afar.
Yeah.
And that's your boundary. And I can't be upset with you for it. It can be a frustrating thing, but when you realize that there are people who need to set boundaries the same way that you have to set your own so that you can be your best self, it's important that you allow other people to do the same thing, whether you agree with it or not.
Beautifully said. So, Rachel, I want to get a little bit of sense of like, how did you go? You said you mentioned you got into understanding holistic nutrition. So tell us a little bit about your journey and maybe sort of like how you got into that and maybe walk us through where you got to now. And was there ever in those moments a little light bulb moment that told you had to shift or change? Hey friends, quick little interruption. You have something to say, something real, something that could change lives. But instead, you're stuck Googling how to edit, how to post, and how to make your podcast actually go somewhere. You're overwhelmed, second guessing every step, and wondering if it's even worth it. That's where I come in. I help entrepreneurs and creatives launch and manage powerful podcasts that actually grow their audience and build their business. No more guessing, no more burnout. Just you showing up to speak while I handle the rest. I manage top ranked shows around the world. Editing done, strategy covered, social content handled. You record the magic and I take it from there. So if you're ready to finally make your podcast work for you and share your story with the people who need it most, go to carlybutlermedia.com and book a call. You don't have to figure this out alone. Now back to the episode.
I think my health has always been at the forefront of everything because it's so distracting. And when I went into holistic health and I started learning that, oh, you don't need a pill for this, you don't need a pill for this, but let's parasite cleanse because nobody talks about that. It really is what shifted my perspective from being failed by the medical system for 12 years and being put on all these medications or told or just being medically gaslit. It's all in your head. You don't actually feel this. Presenting them with a whole bunch of symptoms and then eventually being told, okay, you know what? The Cleveland Clinic has accepted you into a medical trial, so you're going to try certain drugs and see. And I said, absolutely not. And that was the end of it. I never really went back to a doctor unless it's been like my regular GP for, your yearly physical. And even then, I don't go anymore. I said, screw this. This is not for me. It doesn't make sense. You're going to want me to try something and who knows what the side effects are. And you failed me for so long. I said, heck no. And I went the complete opposite way. And when I went on AIP within 2 weeks, all my pain went away. I had lost a lot of weight and a lot of it was inflammation that I was struggling with. And then as I got deeper into it, I was like, this industry can do really good things. My dad was struggling with ulcerative colitis. And I know that he had started kind of trickling into the natural space, trying to essentially create a team for himself where he had to be on some steroids, but then also correcting things with natural health and seeing how that supported him and really pushed his recovery further. So it was just a really eye-opening journey being in that space. And then I connected with Dr. Stephanie Canestraro. And I did a test with her, and it was a really intricate test that discovered I actually all these years had been struggling with Lyme disease, and getting to the root of that and finally starting to shift everything going on. And it's still a work in progress. I go like this, honestly. I go up and down. I have really good weeks, really good months, and then boom, I feel like my world is ending. But that journey has been, like I said, it's been eye opening. I don't think I would have it any other way, honestly. And when we spoke about earlier, surrounding yourself with people who think like that, those are the group of people that allowed me to really think for myself when I needed to think for myself the most, when everything kind of 5 years ago was crazy. And that was really the shift for me. And I was practicing, I had my own practice. I was specializing in gut health and I loved it. Like, nothing was more gratifying than having someone come to you saying, I'm going to the bathroom 12 times a day and I feel like poop. And after working with you, reversing that for them. But there came a time where I couldn't shut it off. And I didn't know how to set that boundary of someone, you can kind of have the opposite where you start a protocol and you have a reaction to it. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, but as a practitioner, you want to avoid that at all costs. And I was finding that was really stressful for me, and I internalized all of it. So I felt like I needed to pivot. That I love the industry, I support the industry, I still work with clients in the industry doing all of their marketing. So it feels for me that I still get to explore that world and know that world and practice that world without being in that world. And that's when I ended up kind of shifting off into digital marketing. I think when you own your own business, you know this, you wear all the hats. So I had to do all my marketing. I had to do all my, like, everything. I did my very first website until I hired someone else to redo it for me. But I've always had a really, like, a love for that. I'm a very minimal creative human. And having the nicest graphics was important to me and all this stuff. But I felt like because I was so emotionally involved in my own business, the content got stuck in my head. Like I couldn't do it. And now working for other people and helping them with their content, it feels like ideas. I'm just like, oh my God, where was this girl like 3 years ago for my own business? So I really am proud of the journey that I took to get me here. It definitely was unconventional and questioned a lot for sure. I questioned it a lot, being like, how am I going to make this work? I have bills to pay. I have a big dog I need to support and, all the things. And so it felt very scary, but I also believe that when you follow your passion, that everything will just sort itself out as it should.
Yeah, that's really beautiful that you were able to actually listen to yourself. Like you understood and had the awareness that this was too much for you. Like as much as you love the industry, like that level of stress, that level of like investing so much emotional energy into that can become so exhausting. Like I can't imagine like creating protocols for people, like understanding where they're at. Like it's a lot. And I know that you are such a passionate person about that. Like, I can just tell your soul is just like wanting to help as many people as possible to the fullest of your ability. And at some point, if it gets to be too much, then how can you serve those clients anymore? Like, if you're not showing up as your best self, if you're, going through your own health journey, to show up fully and wholly when you're tired, burnt out, emotionally just at your end, what does that look like for your client? Are they getting the best for you? And
Yeah.
I'm sure you did absolutely everything you could until you were like, I can't anymore.
Yeah. And you know what? This new journey for me all started with another podcast I was on. And I was telling her about it, and she took a chance on me. I'll be forever grateful. We still work together. I love working with her. And she took a chance on me. To be honest, she's taught me a lot of things that I know now. And I think if it weren't for people taking a chance on me, I don't know again where I'd be. But I'm so grateful that people believed in my vision and the way I operate and the skills that I had to take on the digital marketing for their business. But it was I don't know, this part has been 3 years, about two 2.5 years, getting to kind of where I am now,
Mhm.
feeling confident, but things are still changing. I just started another business with a girlfriend, all in digital marketing. But again, things are always shifting and twisting and turning. And I'm just rolling with the punches at this point. And whatever, feels aligned, I'm like, let's do it. And then when I said yes to her, the amount of angel numbers the two of us both saw, we
Wow.
got off a call and she sent me a screenshot of like 888. And I'm like, I literally just saw 222.
Whoa, yeah, no, it's
It's
super interesting the
crazy.
way that those alignments start to happen when you say
Yeah.
yes to things that you're scared of or that you don't know. And I think the one really great thing that you just said there was that like people took a chance on you and you did something that maybe you didn't know that you could do, but you had faith in yourself that you had the skill sets, you had the work ethic, you had the entrepreneurial spirit in you to be like, I don't necessarily know what I'm going to do or how this is going to look, but I know who I am. I know my kind of personal constitution. I know the type of work that I can put out, the learning that I like to do. And that makes shifting careers or leaving a job that's holding you back. It's like, yeah, you might not know how to exactly do that thing, but well, wait, I'm already so good at learning. I absorb information. I'm super organized. I'm super, committed to a vision. Like I know who I am and I know that basically any space that I land in, I can do this.
Yeah, and I think you can speak to that journey with your own
Yeah.
journey, with how you left teaching and where you're at now, hosting your own podcast and helping people do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I
Like it
think again,
doesn't.
it's so funny. There's so much like alignment. I
Yeah.
remember you coming to me talking about the business that you were starting, and we were chit chatting about that. And I was like, I literally do something very similar. It's pretty crazy, different but similar. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think again, the whole thing of just I was starting to feel so stressed and so overwhelmed that I was like something just has to give here, and I want to love what I'm doing and be excited to explore more creativity, but not it necessarily be for my own brand. If
Mhm.
that makes sense. It just I still get amazed at when I'm coaching someone through, cuz I do a little bit of like actual business startup, like online business startup too, and coaching through how to start your I guess you can say your own digital marketing journey, how you can start your own socials, your email marketing. And like the way I was going through being like this, I'm like, oh my God,
I actually know what I'm talking
I
about.
am good at this.
Right, because you had done that all for yourself. You had already built a business, and I think one it takes you stepping away from that to be like, "Oh, no, wait, I have all those skills. I've already
Mhm.
done all of this. I built it by myself, and now I can apply that to so many other situations." Like I always compared the classroom to running a small business. Like I
Yeah.
have to make sure that all of my well, although they were little, all my employees showed up and that the work was done and that the HR always had to be there to make sure that everyone was feeling comfortable and safe and heard and they could show up strongly to their school or their classroom. Like to make sure that everything kind of was organized and well thought out. And yeah, like all those skills can take you so far in literally anything that you do. So I think this is like a message for anyone listening who's like, I don't know if I can do it. Like start by listing all the skills that you apply to your job now and then be like, okay, well, what else can that apply to? So many, I bet you would come up with so many things, right?
And I bought this really amazing app called the Higher Self app. And it's all about recalibration, reprogramming your subconscious, all the things, abundance. And let me tell you, when I've never used an app that has done so many amazing things for my confidence, my business, everything. Like it is powerful. And sometimes I think in order to do that, you got to break through a lot of those patterns that go on in your head that you're self sabotaging yourself. Like, I can't do this, or I'm not going to be good at it, or I don't have the skill set for it. I still have imposter syndrome. And I have girlfriends being like, you're crazy. Like, look what you do. I'm like, okay, thank you. Sometimes you just need that.
Yeah. No, it's easy to get wrapped up in the moment and forget that you've created something from scratch and learn a totally new industry. And you're like,
Mhm.
oh, yeah, no, I am capable of literally anything. Everyone is,
Yeah.
if you
We
have the right mindset.
Yeah, and like you said before, we all absorb information. I had coaches take me throughout my first business who, for a lot of the digital marketing aspect, they taught me everything I knew with email marketing platforms and how to do funnels. And then it was just kind of building off the knowledge that I gained from them to do it for other people. And everyone who's kind of led me up to this point, who's coached me and helped me and supported me, forever grateful. I could have never done any of it without them because I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
But here we are.
I love that. And it really does sound like you found a new sense of freedom. And we talk about that a lot on the podcast. So I would love to know, like, for you, finding freedom in your own life, becoming unbound by old systems or narratives in your mind, or like, how does that play out for you? What does freedom look like in your daily life?
I think kind of just how you said it, just being able to think for myself, number one, and have the freedom to structure my day the way I want it structured, the ability to take my dog for a walk when I want to take my dog for a walk, be able to express myself and work with people who feel aligned with me, to me is all a form of freedom within my personal life. And also, I think more deep down, being able to express, if I didn't already say that before, express myself the way I want to be able to, and the freedom to choose how I want to support my body and my life and my lifestyle moving forward is, I know it takes on a whole new like meaning, but I will never give up that freedom for anything. To me, that is the most important. I get to choose what I put into my body, how I put it into my body, and what I'm going to do outside of work and life freedom. That is like the freedom that means the most to me. And I think you can align with that.
Yeah. And like that's so funny that you're saying that. It seems so simple. And yet that is such a radical way of thinking. Like some people are like they've never, I don't know, like I just feel like that's it's not radical at all. And yet it is like one of the most radicalized ideas in our society. Like, how crazy is that? It's just like free to do what I want with my nutrition, my wellness, my health, my mental health, my understanding, the thinking that I do in my own brain, in my brain that affects nobody else. That idea is radical.
Yeah.
Like, are we living in the upside down?
I know. I know. I shouldn't have to express that. You know what I mean? That should be a no-brainer. I shouldn't have to say to you, freedom to me and what's so important to me is being able to do what I want with my body. Who would have thought?
Weird.
Aside from all the other things that, like I said, that freedom means to me is being able to choose how I operate my day and being able to decide kind of anything and everything for myself.
And
That
to not outsource your own intelligence.
Yeah, that shouldn't be, none of this should be like a new thing. It shouldn't come as a surprise. It should be, everyone on this podcast should be saying, like, it shouldn't be a thing.
I know.
But it's crazy that that's like something I have to express. And I
Well, that
think that's another way that you and I connected when we did. It's a big part of our alignment.
so let's say like okay, maybe someone sort of feels like they relate to that type of freedom, and yet they are having family members, people in their life that are like again believing that they are radical in their choices or feeling like nobody understands them. Like how I mean, we know how we got through that, but like, what would be your advice? And I know that we've kind of touched on this of how like we kind of connected and like you kind of hold on to those people, but like, how do you deal with all of that, like, animosity towards your own critical thinking and the way that you're making all those choices when so many people around you are like, you're wild and crazy and you're like totally different from anyone in our family. And maybe you're the only one who thinks that.
Yeah, like where we're the black sheep of the family.
Yeah.
um, I think it ebbed and flowed. It really did. I think I had moments where I stood strong in my conviction and was really confident in the decisions I would make. And I think the way I got around it was trying to support the things I was saying with research, since they were such research driven humans, to show evidence that, there is an alternate way to think about things. And just because someone is telling you you must do it doesn't mean you must do it. And I'll be honest, I still really struggle with it. I think the way that I get around it the most is by not talking about it.
Mm.
Because to me, I know that certain family members are really, really confident in their decisions and their choices. And what am I going to do about it at this point? So it's such a point of contention that I just go about it by not, I keep it in my heart and I pray. Honestly, I pray for health for everyone. I pray for, you know, that everyone is happy, healthy, abundant, prosperous, all the things. And that, in my opinion, is all I can do,
Mhm.
because it's not worth putting this divide in our relationship. And we talked about it earlier, is setting that boundary. People either are walking away or you're saying, you know what, I love you. And we're just not going to talk about this because we know that it's not something we align on. And I think that that's very okay. And that's what I do today. Honestly, it's the only way to get through is you show up at a family event. And if something is talked about that you don't align with, I boil on the inside, but I smile on the outside and I move on. Or I can look at you and be like,
Yeah, you talk to the other
nice,
one
yeah,
while she's in the
like,
family that gets
that's
it.
all you need sometimes is just
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's really an important point because it's so easy to want to battle everything because you're like, I'm standing up for what I believe in and like this is what I want to say and I'm super like totally like on something and I've got it. I figured out the answer. And it's so easy to be like, I'm going to stand up for this and express this in every situation and in every like space or place that I'm in. And I think it's realizing that like giving yourself the grace to be like, not everything has to be a battle.
Mhm.
Love should be the thing, love and connection over trying to be right. Like sometimes the greatest thing you can do for someone is just like let them be
I know
wrong.
for
You're all
me,
right.
and I think for me, the hardest piece is you love people so much that there's that internal battle where you're like, I know that they're doing things that are harming them. They don't see it, but I know that they're doing things that are harming them. And how ultimately do I keep my mouth shut? But realizing that I've gotten to enough tiffs to just keep my mouth shut. But I do feel like that's the hardest part. The hardest part is knowing how much I love and adore and care and would do anything to protect the people that I love. And how do I just stay silent? And then eventually, when you realize that they don't want to hear it, you have no other choice but to stay silent, because if they don't want to hear it, then what am I going to do other than pray and hope
Yeah.
for the best? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hard part.
It's
Yeah.
very hard. It's very hard. You're like, I don't want anything to happen to the people that I love.
No.
And it's out of my control.
And it comes from a place of love, but when it's expressed, sometimes it's just not quite like you want to say, like, this is coming from a place of love because I don't want to see you harm yourself. Like, this is only because I've spent the time, I've done the critical thinking that maybe you haven't just had an opportunity to have yet. And I'd love to share this with you. And yeah, it's that balance of being like they're also on their own journey because you could have told me stuff, you stuff like way back in the day that would have seemed wild. And I would have been, I totally just would have fluffed that off and been like, oh, yeah, that person's insane. But they're probably right. And I would have looked back 10 years from now if I could remember what they said to be like, oh, yeah. But that was my journey. I had to go through all of that. And it's important to know that we can't always interfere and play God on the things that people are choosing to do for themselves, because that's also freedom.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. It's definitely hard. I think the loving them part is the hardest.
Yeah.
It's the hardest thing to separate for me because I'm such an empath. I'm such a lover. I want everyone to be happy and healthy. I want everyone to thrive. And then, you see certain things or know certain things where you're like, this is not going to be it for you. It's not going to support you. It's not going to lead you in the right direction. And my dad would say this to me all the time. There's a time where I know I have to intervene because you're doing something dangerous. So there's a time I need to let you figure it out for yourself.
Yeah, I think that's the challenge of all parents come to understand. I haven't been through that yet, so
Yeah.
I don't really know what that
I
feels
haven't
like,
been
but
through that
yeah.
yet either. But I think it's the same with your siblings or any, friends you consider family or extended family that you just, it's out of your control. You have to love them and just pray for them. And you know that what you're doing for your own body is where you feel that you're supporting yourself the best. And you have to realize that they think that they're doing the best for them.
Yeah.
And you can only do so much.
Yeah, and
There's
honestly,
nothing wrong
like,
with that.
I think there is a lot of power in the mind, so if someone does believe that what they are doing is for the best and their brain really believes it, there is some power in that, right? Like if you truly believe that what you are doing for your body is the best, I think the danger spot is when you're like, "Ooh, I don't know," and you're doing something out of
Yeah.
fear. But if there's something that you're like, I'm doing this because I believe it's the right thing. The power of the mind is very protecting in that sense, right? Like if you believe that tap water is the best for you, then like maybe
You
your
drink
body
that tap water.
maybe your body has all of the mechanisms that it needs
Handle it.
to, detox from that and make sure that all the heavy well, whatever, I'm not going to go into that, but all of the things that are included in tap water,
That's a
your
whole other
body has the
hour.
capability of dealing with it.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And if someone out there who's listening is kind of in the same position, it's just about sending them all your love and hope and prayers and just realizing that they're not on the same journey as you. And it's hard to see and it's hard to witness, but it's out of your control.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I feel like this conversation was jam packed with so many amazing nuggets. So now you're on a new digital marketing path. If anyone wants to find out more, where can they find you?
They can either find me at rachelkalmarconsulting.com or contentbank.agency. Those are my two new babies.
Awesome. I will put all of that in the show notes. So, friends, you can go check out Rachel's new journey and see what she's up to. And maybe it'll be a good fit for you and any of the digital marketing needs that you have.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. All right. Big love to Rachel for reminding us that alignment matters more than algorithms, and showing up authentically is always the best strategy, whether you're talking about your health or your business. So, if this episode lit a fire in you, I have a request. Please take a moment, subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend who might have been going through the exact same thing that we talked about in this episode. It means the world to me and it helps the show grow. All right, friends, stay tuned for next week and another episode of Becoming Unbound.